want to recap some of the things we've already said. The citrus leaf miners as well as Asian citrus psyllid typically affect the leafy, new growth parts of the plant. Your more established growth, if it's, if it pushed out the growth in early spring, let's say, and the adult leaf miners are not out there and the Asian citrus psyllid is not out there, then your plant is relatively protected. It's on that new growth. When you see that flush of growth coming, that's when you should be thinking, what can I do to treat my plant? There's another practice that's being done by other growers that I've met with in Los Angeles. They continuously treat their citrus throughout the entire growing season, starting in spring through summer and early fall, on a routine schedule of spraying their trees every 2 to 3 weeks organically. I brought a couple of chemical examples, but we're talking about chemical treatments. We're going to try to create something that's beneficial and healthy to you and your family, while at the same time protecting the environment and the wildlife surrounding your, in your home and surrounding gardens in your community. So what I like doing, and my favorite practice method for preventing this, which I've allowed my garden to go a lot farther than I'm comfortable with, and that's the reason I'm doing this video, is so I can show you what to do, and I'm going to start treating my plants and making them look top notch like they typically do look here in my garden. But I wanted to share with you how bad it can get if you don't treat your plants. So what I like doing is basically alternating between two products. One being an oil-based product such as, and one of my favorites is using a product such as this, which has got neem oil in it. If you take a look at the active ingredients, it says over here, active ingredients is clarified hydrophobic extract of neem oil. The key word is neem oil, 70%. The more neem oil, the better, and follow the instructions on the back to follow the directions in regards to how it's going to help you. I'll explain to you why neem oil is my favorite. Here's another product that will also help in controlling a lot of these pests, is just using a spray oil. This one over here just says mineral oil. So these are oil-based products. The reason I like neem oil is because not only will it help keep your pest populations under control, but it will also serve as a fungicide, and it also says it's a miticide. So it has these additional properties, and when the insects even consume this product, so if it's coated on the leaves and they get neem oil within their bodies, that'll actually halt their growth system and lead to death within a few days. These other horticultural oils work by way of suffocation predominantly, whereas again, neem oil, once ingested, will eventually kill the insect. So it goes a step further than most garden oils. And what I'll do is, after spraying my plants and waiting 2 to 3 weeks, I'll then follow with something like this, which is a bacteria biological control. The active ingredient here is spinosad. I'm hoping you can zoom in here and you'll see it. This is a product made by Captain Jack's. This is a concentrate. You can also get it as a ready-to-use foliar spray. And then the third method that a lot of growers use is using worm castings or worm manure, also known as black gold. And what's unique about this is that the worm castings have chitinase in it, which is an enzyme which breaks down basically the exoskeleton of a lot of these insects. So imagine, and this is going to lead to when we talk about fertilizing your garden, by having a lot of earthworms naturally in your garden, you're gaining the benefits of worm gold or black gold or these earthworm castings naturally in your garden. By feeding them organically, you're going to gain more of these populations. And some people actually take these worm castings and use that as a foliar spray and as a liquid drench feed to the plants to basically increase the amount of chitinase within the plant that gets absorbed into the plant and gives also a natural defense to your plant. So I'm giving you 3 ways to naturally and organically protect your plants from a lot of citrus diseases, all the ones listed on my list, which I'm going to read to you again. Leaf miner, citrus scale, whitefly, the swallowtail caterpillars, aphids, and even mites. So consider basically rotating between whether it's 2 systems or 3 systems and repeating that every 2 to 3 weeks. And again, follow directions to make sure that you've allowed enough time between applications. What we're going to do today is we're going to use a combination of oils with the ivory organics. And the reason behind that is the oils will naturally cause the plants to be hotter on a hot day. We're here now at the end of the day. You can see that the sun is off of most of my plants. We're about an hour or 2 away from sunset, and this is a great time to be applying your horticultural oils, as it also won't affect the bees that are within your garden. So it's even recommended, if you read your directions, as most of them should read, to not apply them when the bees are active in your garden. And there goes a bee right in front of me as I say that. So the goal is to wait until later in the day when the bees, most of them have gone back into hibernation in their hives. But what we're going to do is we're going to take these horticultural oils and add Ivory Organics whitewash to it. The goal is to basically bring the temperature of the plant back down to normal. These oils, just as adding an oil to your skin on a sunny day, will cook you. Even though you're going to apply it at night, they're still going to be on the plant come tomorrow morning. And fortunately, we're going into a week where we're going to be in the mid to lower 80s. But if there's a risk of upper 80s and 90s and even 100, I do not recommend applying horticultural oils on your plant unless you combine it with something to offer your plant some sunburn protection, which will be the Ivory Organics. And let's go and prepare that right now. What we're going to do here, it recommends applying anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons of oil per gallon of water. We've already added a gallon of water, as you can see here by the water level that's in here. So we've added a gallon of water. We're now going to take, if it says to put between 2 and 4, I'm going to go with the middle number of 3. So we're going to add 3 tablespoons. If you want to follow it and watch this, here's our second and our third. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add some of the whitewash product. Let me rinse that off. And we're going to be using this towel in just a second. I'll show you how in just a minute. But what we're going to do is I'm just going to take my, again, Ivory Organics whitewash. I'm going to stir it to make sure I've got as much of the solution in contact with the powders. And let me share with you also on the directions where you can read about how this can be used as a foliar spray. So I'm not making this up. It's right here. Foliar spray directions may also be used to make a total plant, including foliage, sunscreen spray by diluting 1 to 2 teaspoons of the prepared brush-on solution per gallon of water. Ideal application at time of transplanting plants and trees in times of extreme heat. Can also be used to cool off plants treated with horticultural pest control oils, as oils tend to intensify the sun's rays that may increase the risk of sunburn. Filter product through strainer first to avoid the possibility of clogging. So what I'm going to be doing here is I've got, instead of a strainer, I'm just using this hand washcloth, and I've rinsed it off before just to make sure there's no detergents or other chemicals in the product. And I'm just going to take the solution here, and to make sure it passes even better, I've got the cup of water. I'm going to add, again, it says 1 to 2 teaspoons. So I'm just going to do 1 tablespoon instead. And I'm going to mix that in like so. If you come in a little closer, I want to show you guys how this is going to pass through now. We're just going to put that right there, and you can hear it going through. My concern is any of these bubbles, as you can see on the top, I just don't want that blocking my sprayer. So all that's passing through. Here it goes. We can force that down. And there we go. And now we'll just add the top, apply some pressure. Shake it very thoroughly. And now let's spray. Make sure when you apply to the upper side of the leaf as well as the lower side. The goal is to get the neem oil in contact with every part of the plant in hopes of coming into contact with those adult pests that may exist. If you zoom in a little closer, you may notice that there's a very light white sunblock sunscreen that's on the leaf. Let me show you another example. Follow me. we've got a lot more light over here. This here is one of the Meyer lemons, the sweet lemon varieties. Take a look again at the leaves. Take a look at how much damage is being caused, yellowing by those leaf miners. You can see some of the tunneling that's happening on the leaf. All of the leaves are damaged. Had I done this a few weeks ago, all of these leaves could have been preserved and we would have had nice established leaves such as these. If you take a look underneath, these were coated from weeks and months past, and even some of them may even be from last year. But you can see once you get past the initial growth stage and the leaf starts to harden and thicken, then they're safe from these pests. But we're now going to try to control the populations by, again, spraying them with the neem or any other horticultural oil in combination with the ivory organics. And we're going to continue this process throughout. And if you zoom in again a little bit more, I was just hoping to get some light, but if you take a look at my tip, you can see that there's a little bit of whiteness. And that's your goal. Your goal is to create this light white film on the leaf to help keep it a few degrees cooler during the next hot day, which is pretty much every day. Even though we're going to be in the 80s with the oils, you can add a few more degrees with the ivory organics. You're going to help bring that back down. Let me share one more with you. So here's another benefit. Even if we didn't add the horticultural oils, there's something else that's gnawing on these citrus leaves. This here is my Valencia orange tree. You can see over here the shape of the fruit. And there's about a half a dozen on this young tree. But if you take a look in here, there's something that's been chewing on the leaf. More likely than not, a grasshopper. Had it been sprayed with the ivory organics, whether it's the 3-in-1 or even the whitewash solution, it would have minimized the amount of chewing happening. If you come a little closer, there's even more examples here. I just noticed some more chewing on this leaf, some more chewing on the leaf below, more chewing on this leaf, more chewing on that leaf. And in addition to the chewing that's happening on this plant, there's also the tunneling that's being caused by the leaf miners. So I want you to see this one more time before I start spraying. You can take a look here at all of these tunnels. Again, leaf miner damage. And there's one other thing I spotted in here just a few days ago, and we're going to treat that right now as well. Let me see if I can find it. And there it is. If you come in right near the orange tree, you may notice that there's right there citrus scale. So again, the neem solution is going to control that. You may notice there's all this black stuff on the leaf. This here is known as sooty mold. Look at all these lessons that we're getting in citrus pests. And if you turn it over, check out that hairy mess, which is caused again by the citrus scale. Let me turn that over. Hoping you can capture all this like spider web looking stuff. And underneath the spider web, if you push that over, you may notice that there's some scale, these little bugs right under there. We're gonna get our solution all over that. It's gonna put an end to this. What's happening with the sooty mold, this here is all the sweet waste coming out of the pest, landing on the leaf, and resulting and basically like fermenting into that sooty mold solution, which is caused by the waste of the pest sucking and causing damage to the plant. So there's a lot of different stuff happening here in the garden, and that'll happen to your citrus trees if you're not on it. Like I said, if you've got a good biology system going on, there's a lot of earthworms naturally in your garden, you know, which I believe I've got it. So maybe this would be looking a lot worse without all of the biology that's naturally happening here in the garden. But like I said, of all of the fruit trees and all the plants that I care for, my citrus require the most attention. I'm hoping these lessons help you, but we're gonna go again with our solution. We're just gonna shake it some more and start spraying it. And again, we're gonna coat all the leaves of the entire plant, both top and bottom. And notice you can even coat the fruit as well. That'll help also minimize the risk of sunburned fruit. And here we go. Let's zoom in one more time. See if you can hopefully capture that light white organic film that's on there, in addition to the oils that'll be offering the plant protection from all of the pests that we've just discovered within this Valencia orange tree. Well, let's now get on to the next topic. Follow me. So here we are now. Let's look back at the program. So we learned a lot about the Asian citrus psyllid. We learned about the citrus pest, leaf miners, citrus scale, which we even found here in our garden, and the white flies. Aphids we haven't seen. And again, I welcome aphids unless they're causing major damage to my plant that they need, that my plants need protection. This program we just discussed will help you, as well as mites. Pest control systems we just discussed. Let me actually, while we're on pest control systems, these here are a couple of products. And again, nothing negative against Bayer or Spectrum. I know all of these lines have also their organic lines as well. But when it comes to your garden, firstly, these pest control measures are too extreme. It kills too much. Your goal is to treat what needs help and to leave the other parts of your garden alone that don't need help. Your chemical systems may potentially collapse the biology system that naturally exists in your garden. We have right behind me, I've got some California fuchsia, I've got some California milkweed, and I've got some California sage. I've got all of these native plants to attract the native biology and the native hummingbirds and the native wildlife that exists here, because the plants are the foundation to all the living organisms that surround you in your home, in your community, in your city, in your state. So plant natives in your garden, as I've discussed this in many videos in the past, and avoid the use of chemical fertilizers. By applying the chemical fertilizers, they're harsher, they do last significantly longer than the organics, but the impact is far more damaging on the biology in your garden. We want to preserve those earthworms, we want to preserve the beneficial bacteria, we want to preserve the beneficial nematodes, we want to preserve all of those things that naturally exist in your garden, and keep things to a minimum. And that's the benefits of the organics over the chemical alternatives that exist. With that being said, let's go and discuss organic fertilizers and the benefits with that right now. Follow me. We're back here next to my Bear's Lime and my Oro Blanco standard grapefruit, and beneath me here are some organic fertilizer choices. One made here by EcoScraps, another one made by Espoma, another one made by Kellogg's. And the way that I know that these are organic fertilizers is simply look at the ingredients. You're going to see ingredients that include, let's read this together so you can see what you're looking for when you pick these up. It's going to say derived from feathers and poultry manure and bone meal and alfalfa meal and green sat and sulfate of potash and sulfate of magnesia. And all of these things, on average, what you're doing by feeding your soil organically is you're feeding the soil, you're feeding the soil biology, which again, as I just mentioned minutes ago, you're feeding the earthworms, the beneficial bacteria, the beneficial nematodes, and all the beneficial things and beneficial fungi that naturally exist in your soil. So by doing so, what you're going to do is you're going to get those elements in your soil, you're going to create this whole food web underneath your garden, and that's going to create a naturally healthy plant. By using chemical fertilizers, which are like those glow-in-the-dark blue, glow-in-the-dark red, and all these different chemical formulations that don't consist of natural sources, such as these products that I've got here below me. But by using chemical fertilizers, what that'll do to your plants is it's going to harm the soil biology. The chemical fertilizers, in addition to having too many salts that can potentially harm your plants, it will and can potentially also devastate the natural biology within your garden, including harming the earthworms, the beneficial bacteria, the beneficial nematodes, and so on. When it comes to doing things organically, another benefit, and we did a video publication on this not too long ago, and I'm trying to go a little bit faster as we've spent so much time on the first few issues, but I've done other videos on these topics. So when it comes to organic fertilizers, I'll put a link discussing feeding your plants and the benefits of that, including organic fertilizers can create antibiotic benefits to your garden. Antibiotics historically came from beneficial fungus and beneficial bacteria components that those organisms excreted naturally from their systems. So the beneficial bacteria, the beneficial fungus in your garden can naturally create the antibiotics to help your plants naturally fend off devastating issues such as root rot, among other things that exist in the soil. So doing things organically can basically empower and equip your plants to a better health. Another thing that your chemical fertilizers can do that's negative is it can create artificial growth, and typically your chemical fertilizers will create artificial growth that then the pests get on, and your plant can't naturally manage it. You can imagine, again, with doing things organically and having more earthworms that basically enrich the soil and create a natural defense. And I don't want to say antibiotics, because we just explained that earthworms excrete, and in their manure have chitinase, which will naturally damage the systems of any insects that suck on it or chew on your plants in your garden. So by doing things organically, you're going to have naturally more earthworms in your garden, which will naturally create a healthier plant and trees within your garden. So here we talked about fertilizers. A couple other tips: mulching. Mulching, as you can see throughout my entire garden, we've got wood chips. The wood chips, again, are doing the same thing. They're doing water retention. They're also breaking down and offering more elements into the soil to create more healthier and more abundant plants. That's mulching. And when it comes to watering, I'm also going to put that link down below from Lisa Smith, who's a licensed arborist. There's also another lady I met recently, Julie Frink. She's the avocado expert of the country. And both of them talk about the importance of watering. And when you water, Lisa Smith's words were mimic rain. When you water, make sure you soak the plant root zone. Make sure you're watering, and imagine that you've got this entire life cycle. Check out this monarch butterfly over here to my right. Hoping you can capture that. How beautiful. That's all part of a natural garden. If you've got chemical residue and pesticides within your garden, even your natural insects and your beneficial insects and the things you want are potentially harmed. So again, it's important to do things organically. Continuing forward, in regards to irrigating, make sure you soak the root zone. Every time you water, water well, and allow the soil to dry in between, but not necessarily bone dry, but just dry to the point that there's still some moisture in the soil, and then repeat the cycle. On average, here in Los Angeles, California, I'll water my plants in the summer an average of about 2 to 3 times per week, with a major soaking once a week. And then come spring, it'll probably be about 2 to 3 waterings per month. And spring is similar to fall. And then in the winter, I might not water my plants at all. I got to watch the conditions. And even though there might not be much rain in the winter, your plants also don't need much water. There's very little growth. Some of the plants that are, some of the fruit trees in our garden that are deciduous, such as the fig tree and the apple tree, will naturally drop its leaves in the winter. And again, their water needs are very minimal, but they still do need water. You never want that soil to be bone dry. But again, while all the plants are in a dormant state, including your citrus, which are evergreens, they're still considered relatively dormant. There's not much happening in the winter, even though it's going to be maximizing on fruit production. There's not much to do. Most of the growth is happening spring, summer, and fall. In winter, you take a break from fertilizing. And again, I'm going to include a lot more of these informative links in the comments down below. I hope you've enjoyed this very educational video. I've tried sharing as much as I can in regards to citrus care, and I'm trying to help you make an informed decision about bringing citrus into your garden. And if you do, make sure you're prepared and empowered to take the steps necessary to ensure their health and to make sure that you're successful in your garden. If you've enjoyed this educational video, please give me a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe down below, as we try to put out as many of these videos every single month to continue sharing the lessons that inspire us on a month-to-month basis. Thanks again for watching, and happy gardening.